It's time to talk about health insurance, very important pillar that safeguards your financial lives. Now, Tarun Mathur, the CBO GI of PolicyBazaar.com, is joining in to talk about this a little bit more. And Tarun, essentially, we're talking about uh, corporate health insurance cover or the group policies that a lot of individuals enjoy because their employers provide it. The first question is, how many people choose to get a policy over and above this? Do you have any statistics that can tell you that?
Yes, actually, it's quite an abysmal percentage. Only about 15% of all people who have a group health insurance from their companies actually go ahead and buy a retail health policy for themselves, and that too if you skewed towards the older ages and not the younger ones. So there has to be work done on that bit, I guess.
But talk to me about whether this is enough. So I'm assuming, first of all, that a corporate health insurance cover is not going to be enough. You need to bolster it. But are there issues with corporate cover that you can fix? For example, there are certain companies where you can go to them and you can say you want to bolster the amount of cover that you have. You can talk to them, you can say that you want your parents covered. Are there discrepancies with the group health policy, and is that why it's not sufficient?
See, it's about the amount of cover. It's a very basic logic, right? Today, you understand that the companies will mostly give you a sum insured of about 3 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees at best. And given the healthcare cost today, the average cost of claim itself is about 40,000 rupees across the country. And if you live in, let's say, a metro, then that amount just doesn't cut it for you. Now, there are two options, right? And I'll come to the limitations of the group cover itself. But one is that this 3 or 5 lakh rupees is just not enough. So there are top-up plans, health insurance plans that you can buy, which let's say start from 3 lakh rupees. The first 3 lakhs is paid by your corporate insurance, and the remaining, let's say going up to a crore, can be given from the from the top-up policy itself. But here's the problem: when you want to cover your parents, it has to be part of the group health cover that the company offers. You can't just go and say, "Hey, I want a parents cover. Can you cover it?" Very, very few companies actually do that. So for them, if you go out and buy a policy separately, that's going to be cost itself. But if you buy for your parents within let's say a retail policy for yourself and your let's say your nuclear family, then that premium is far more effective and far cheaper than going for just a parent policy.
Understood. Okay, so there is a cost aspect as well. What is the ideal approach then? And like I was trying to say, what I was trying to get from you is you were saying that the cover is the most important parameter. But there are also issues in terms of who is covered and who is not, right? So, can you, for example, go and talk to your company and say, look, maybe next year you need to get a better a cover, better service provider? What are the few things that you should have in a corporate cover?
See, first of all, the whole premise of a corporate cover is, in my view, not enough. It's like a company laptop, right? When you join a company, you have the company's laptop. Should you have one on your own? You shouldn't. But you keep your personal documents also on the laptop. And when you leave the company, and if you leave the company, then you got to migrate it somewhere else. Now, in a health insurance, it's not that simple. If let's say you have a corporate cover and you don't buy your own cover, and you move jobs, and let's say you move to a startup, just like I did many years ago, and there was no corporate health cover available at that time, then you actually make the mistake of leaving your entire health insurance spend exposed to your own bank accounts. And I think that's not a wise move. Problem number two, as you grow older, the chances of you getting a policy become lesser because there are medicals involved. If you contracted some illness, then you won't get the cover at the same price, or you get a very, very high price, and the chances of getting the policy itself are abysmally low, especially when you cross your 40s, your 50s, or 60s. These are thresholds where the companies start taking medicals. So it's easier to get a policy when you're younger. It complements the policy because then all the benefits continue. Any new policy that you buy has some waiting periods for 1, 2, 3 years, depending on your plan that you've chosen. Now, if you let's say start at the age of 45, then it will take till about 49 for those covers to become activated and for you to be able to enjoy those benefits. So the idea is to buy early so that you don't have any of those illnesses and you get a policy which covers you from day one. The second thing is that corporates, you cannot enforce what you need. It's not a customized cover. So the company decides that, hey, I'm going to cover my employees only, or it could say I'm going to cover my employees and my parents. employees, their spouse and kids, or it could say I'm going to cover the employees, their spouse and kids, and their parents. And in some cases, what they do is they say, okay, we'll cover the employees, their spouse and kids, but there is an optional cover available for parents for which there's a minimum threshold required. Let me explain that. If there are 100 employees, the insurance company will tell the company, which in question here, and say that you need to have a minimum attachment rate of 15% for this price to be available, because that's how risk works. It works in larger pools. And if that 15% threshold is not crossed, or 10%, whatever the insurance company levies, then you won't be able to buy that parent cover. So it's not enough. You've got to bolster that with either a top up plan or a policy on the side. Go for a small sum insured or go for a high top up, but you've got to have your own policy in place all the time.
This is exactly what I wanted you to communicate, because this will help, I think, a lot of people with that go to smaller companies understand why they don't have that available to them. Now, I do want to understand, very clearly establish that you do need to have additional cover. The question is how much, and does that change case to case, or is there a bare minimum that everybody should have?
I think this is more of opinion, but if you ask what we see at Policy Bazaar, in terms of what is the cover required, if you're living in the top 20 cities in India, there is no way you should have any cover less than a 1 crore. It's as simple as that. Now, there is one advantage you have. Supposing what you say is that, listen, I'm going to retire at the age of, let's say, 65, or let's say I'm not going to change my job for, the next 20 years. What you do is you start a top-up cover, which covers you till 1 crore. The first 5 lakhs is paid by you or the company or whoever, and then the cover starts from 5 lakhs to about 1 crore. Which, what it does is, any sort of large emergency which goes beyond 5 lakhs is paid by the insurance company. So you say, I'll self-insure or use my company for the first 5 lakhs, which I think in the large companies is possible for you to afford. But anything beyond that, if it costs that much, if it's that serious an illness, then the insurance company covers it. So my number out there is absolutely 1 crore. If you're living in, let's say, a small city, I would still recommend you should take anywhere between 30 to 50 lakh rupees, so that if an illness happens, you have to get hospitalized, you get hospitalized for, let's say, 20, 30, 40 days, then those kind of bills are out there. You saw COVID last year, and you saw large bills of 10 lakh, 15 lakh, 20 lakh rupees. If COVID can do that, imagine any other illness. And there are far more serious illnesses than just COVID, right? So I think a 1 crore number for the larger cities, and a 50 to 30 lakhs to 50 lakhs amount for the smaller cities or towns is I think the need of the hour.
About the necessary cover, but we need to also address the issue of cost, because I think an outcome of COVID-19 and the pandemic has been a rise in the premiums. It is getting costlier to get health insurance, particularly if you move past a certain age. And I think that is perhaps one of the reasons why people are preferring, if possible, to put their parents on their corporate plan, because it is just too costly to get covers elsewhere. Do you think that they should ignore that cost aspect because it's so important to have?
See, let me answer in two phases. One is the cost. See, if you are buying for yourself and your spouse and your kids, and I've done that, so I know the exact premium. I think I bought it when I was 37 years old, and for the four of us, the entire premium of a top-up plan going up to 1 crore, starting at 10 lakhs, because my base policy is 10 lakh rupees, actually cost me 3,795 rupees. I don't think that's much to us, right? Now, when it comes to parents, it becomes a little tricky, of course, right? Because most of them are in the age group of anywhere between 50 to, upwards of 65, 70. The idea is to buy very early, is to include them in your plan. And in that, you have two options. Either you can opt for a co-payment, which means that if one of your parents does end up in a hospital, the first you split the bill. 20% is paid by you and 80% paid by the insurance company. That brings the cost down, right? The other thing is that you actually take a deductible. Those options are available. You can check what I said, etc. Where you say, I will pay the first 30,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees, and beyond that, you pay for parents, right? This actually subsidizes the premium, and the insurance starts working when you really need it. I don't think you want to claim for 20,000 or 50,000 rupees any which ways, right? Especially for your parents, where the cost of the plan itself will be very, very high. So you'd rather take a deductible or a co-payment option to reduce the pricing and be able to afford the plan for your parents.
I think that covers it. Tarun, thank you so much for taking the time, and really insightful conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.